Welcome to International Securities Exchange's podcast series. Facilitated by renowned educators, ISE podcasts are intended to teach beginning as well as seasoned investors the ins and outs of trading. To find an updated list of podcasts, please visit www.ise.com/podcasts. Please be sure to listen to our important message following this episode regarding the risks of investing in exchange-traded options.
I want you guys to see the correlations, because if you don't understand them, you're going to end up taking the wrong position. And I've known people who are forex traders that know there's tremendous potential in having these FX symbols, but it's such a foreign thing to them right now. So I want to make sure I'm not trying to patronize anybody with this, but I want to make sure that everyone understands these relationships. So again, with most of the people that I speak to about these FX options, again, they're coming from that spot standpoint, so that's where I'm coming from too. I agree with the dollar analysis. I think the dollar is going to top between where we are here and 80. So I'm looking for puts on the EUI. I can look for puts on the AUX. Now that validity question comes into play. How long or where will that position, will that opinion shift? We have to understand when a trade is no longer valid. Just because we have the option is not an excuse to bend the rules. So
that's a great point. That is a great point.
So I don't want you trading. I don't want you trading these options without an understanding of why the position with a put or a call is valid. Okay, so make sure you have that in mind. If we bust up through 80, okay, and again, strictly speaking of the dollar here, let me just lay this dollar up here since that's the basis of the validity of this particular question, if I'm understanding it right. If I'm looking at this dollar and we break through 80 and that angle of the wave continues to head upward and we start finding that not only are we breaking 80, but we're coming back and testing it as support, and this is the price action I'm talking about. If we come up through 80, come back down, and what was once resistance becomes support, I've got to seriously question whether this scaling into a short position on the dollar via my puts on the AUX or a put on the BPX or a put on the EUI is justified. Okay? You know, I don't want it, just because I know my risk is limited to the amount of money I pay for my option doesn't mean I'm just going to let it go to cabinet. Just let it go worthless. You know? So I definitely want you utilize your leverage, and in this case, looking for those puts on those positions that are factoring in weakness in the dollar. I completely agree. I'm looking for positions like that myself. But I also realize that if 80 becomes support, I've really got to question whether that is valid. So here's how long I'd hang on to it. If we establish support at 80 and we start breaking up through 81, I'm not going to keep scaling. I'm not going to keep scaling. What I could do is if we start to turn over on the dollar again and I can justify that maybe the bears are moving back into the dollar index, I could scale in then. So what I'd like you to do in that case, if you've got those shorts on the EUI, BPX, AUX, you can hang on to them. Okay, understand that I would rather you give yourself time to let this position kind of run its course. But what I'd like you to do is, if it starts moving up against us, that doesn't mean you automatically have to liquidate your options. But what I'd like you to do is, if you want to scale in as the weakness starts coming in. And that means that if 81 was resistance, let, say, 80-50 break. Let 80 break. And on the way back down, yes, you're going with the momentum of the market a little bit. You'll be buying puts with a weakening market. But I'd rather you do that than to stand in front of a freight train, in this case, if the dollar continues heading up. I'd rather you use a little bit of prudence there. But again, understand where the trade is no longer valid. And that might be a different estimation for all of us. But to me, breaking above 80 would be huge. And let me show you here why. When we actually started this leg accelerating to the downside on the dollar index, it actually really began at the 80. And I think the 80 is a huge psychological level. You can see back here in July and August of last year, almost exactly to the year, we're testing 80 again. If we find support here, that is a seismic shift on the dollar.
Wow, great point. Raghee, I think we ran out of time, but what I'd like to do is actually, because we had a lot of great questions, Could you just repeat where the attendees could go to learn more about the services that you offer?
Well, number one, I'd love you guys to direct you back to the archives here at ISC. This is my third or fourth presentation here. So the resources you have here are tremendous, and obviously feel free to send me the questions. I give you guys the email address.
Could you do it one more time?
Sure. It's my first name, Raghee, Raghee, my last name, Horner, Horner, so it's all one word, at yahoo.com. For those of you that are interested in understanding more about the WAVE, you can check that out at the educational site, Raghee, my first name.com. But I invite everyone to take advantage of the resources here at the ISC, because a lot of the issues with the questions about the WAVE I've addressed in some of the earlier presentations. And if you have other questions, feel free to email them to me. Absolutely. And, again, I can't encourage you all enough. Use the ISC website as the resource that it is. I find myself there, religiously when I'm looking at my FX symbols. So, use it. And there was another great site, Steve, that you turned me on to, and for the life of me, I can't remember.
Live Vol?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great one. LIVE Vol, livevol.com. And it's great because you can go there, and of course we'd like you to look at the ISC FX symbols, but if you want to look at Google or IBM or anything else, it's all right there. Type it in, and the best thing, it's free. So, if you just want another way to look at what is the implied volatility of the underlier that you look trading, or you want to find the options market really quickly, that site is livevol.com. So thanks again, Raghee, for reminding me of that one.
I still think the ISC website is going to be the best place to start, but I know that there was a few things on that Live Vol that you turned me on to that I thought were a great supplement to the ISC website.
Well, Raghee, thank you so much. Every time you're with us, I learn more and more. I think it makes a lot of sense for the attendees to go back and listen to some of the other archives. Again, we have them on podcasts, so you could be traveling on a plane or a train or in an automobile if you're not driving, and listening to these kind of things and learning all the things that Raghee is offering. She's just giving you her mindset. She's been trading for years and years. She's trying to make it very simple for you to understand, contrarian versus trend. Again, there's no right answer. I think Raghee mentioned that today, but it's a decision that we all have to make as investors. So go back and check it out, www.isc.com/webinars. We have archives, we have podcasts, and also the FX, www.isc.com/FX. Raghee, thanks so much. I look forward to seeing you at one of the other shows coming up sometime in the future. Of course, we're going to have you back, so I'll schedule that very, very soon, and, we'll have another great presentation.
Thank you as always, my friend. I appreciate it.
Thanks again, Raghee. On the behalf of the International Securities Exchange, this is your host Steve Meisinger saying have a pleasant evening and a great trading day tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining us. Bye now.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. To find more podcasts on options, stocks, alternative markets, and market data, please visit www.isc.com/podcasts.